So once again, everybody, hello, welcome to our Blue Cavern. My name is Valerie, and I work with the Education Department. So I welcome you to our show. Our divers will be feeding the fish in this habitat. We call it the Blue Cavern. And in just a few moments, we'll tell you all about how this wonderful aquarium got that name. So in a moment or two, the diver that is attached to the yellow cord is going to make his way down. A lot of people think that cord is a safety net of some sort, but no, that's not what it is. It is what enables us to talk to each other. My microphone to his microphone, which is actually part of his mask. It's very ingenious. All right, I think I see my co-host getting in place, so we are going to get introduced. Just give me a moment. All right then, everybody, I would like you to meet Brian.
Hello.
Hello. Well, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you for asking. How about you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Well, you know what? We're all excited that you're going to be feeding fish in here, but first, I promised you would tell everybody why we call this the Blue Cavern.
Yes. This is actually a replica of a dive site that's over in Catalina, so it's about 26 miles from our location here. And it actually looks very similar to this. The only difference is Blue Cavern, the actual dive site, is a lot deeper than it is here.
All right, and so I would expect if I went to Catalina, I would see these same fish. Is that right?
Correct, you would. Give or take a few species, just because they're not always in that same location. But you would see a lot of these species over there.
All right, that's terrific. How many people out here have been to Catalina Island, just off of our shores? A lot of you? Yeah. It's a wonderful place. For those of you who have not been there, plan to get there sometime. It's like going to an island in the Mediterranean. It's very, very different in atmosphere from our city life here in Long Beach. And the water is a lot of fun to dive in.
And snorkel too, yes.
And you know what? If you go look in the water down by the Blue Cavern, the real one, you might see a big fish like this one here that I'm pointing at. So what is that big guy, Brian?
That is a giant sea bass, or a giant black sea bass, and they actually get, when fully grown, about 5 feet long, 600 pounds roughly.
Wow, so they get to be really, really big. Well, you know, people always ask, well, how long do they live?
They actually live up to 75 years, so a lot of your kids, they'll be able to come back with their kids and actually see the same animals here at the aquarium.
Right, and there's something else that's very special. Since they live so long, they have to be pretty old before they can have babies. So these, we estimate, are maybe around 25 years old, something like that. And they're just at reproduction age. You know, they almost became extinct in the 1980s. Now, why did that happen, Brian?
We actually overfished them, and today I'm going to change the subject a little bit real quick. We are actually going to feed the giant sea bass and the sheephead and kelp bass back in this direction over here. And so I'm going to go ahead and bring the other divers down so they can begin to feed.
We better get with it. All right, the big signal, come down with the food. All right, well, that's absolutely terrific. So back to that question, why did they become nearly extinct?
Yes, so part of the reason is because they're really large, as you can tell, but they actually are very curious, and they swim very slowly. So a lot of the times as a diver, you can kind of see them swim up close and try and investigate a little bit. And so that kind of had a little bit to do with their undoing a little bit. But now, because of like protecting our oceans in certain areas, they're actually making a comeback, which is excellent.
That's good news. And that is because they are being protected. And that's something we need to do for a lot of other fish out there in the ocean. Well, looks like the divers are down with their buckets of food right now. So, Brian, tell us, the diver at your left is feeding fish. Who are they going to feed?
Yes, they are going to be feeding the sheephead, which I'll point one out. That's a sheephead with the white chin. You can tell usually with some of them actually do have a black upper part of their head, a white chin, and then a pink stripe right in the middle. And they actually do have teeth, but they don't really bite that often. And they're also going to be feeding the kelp bass and the white sand fish.
All right, now since I'm down here, I can point out something to everybody. You'll see this kind of a pinky colored fish just going over the rock with a white chin. You spot it right there? Okay, now that is a female, sheephead. And the male looks very, very different, just as Brian was describing. Matter of fact, the male's right behind Brian right now, going to the diver and back. He's a big fish. He's got that pink all around the middle. And you know what? He's got this great secret. Brian, would you tell us the secret?
Yes, the sheephead, California sheephead, is actually part of the wrasse family. And with the wrasse family, a lot of them actually start out as one sex, or they all start out as one sex, and then they transform into the opposite sex if there's a shortage of, say, a female or a male in that area.
Wow, think of that. They're all born as females. So, what happens if the only male that's out there dies?
Then the dominant female will actually turn into a male and allow the species in that area to continue to thrive.
Ooh, all right. Well, what if I don't like it when I change? Do I have to stay?
Yes, there's no going back and forth.
All right, so one-way street. So once they make that change, he's a male forever on. Okay, so we'll keep our eyes on the sheephead. Now we're feeding a whole, whoa, there is the giant black sea bass. You know, he looks really big right here, doesn't he? There are photographs of the 1970s, the 1980s, the fishermen holding these fish. And they're holding it like this. They're strung up on a bar, and the fish are this big. Huge, but you won't see them that size anymore because they're still making a comeback. And it's got to be, you know, they're going to have to be 70 years old before they get that size again. Oh, well, we've talked about them before, so let's see who else we are feeding. Okay, now, what about those fish way up at the top, Brian? They look very busy.
Yes, those are actually what we call the white sea bass. They're actually not a part of the sea bass family. What they are is a brown croaker, and they were also fished to extinction, and almost to extinction. But they're actually making a really nice comeback because we are actually farming them off the coast of California. And what we do there is we actually release some to the ocean, and we also bring them into the restaurant area.
All right, so that's a good choice. So actually those white sea bass, really brown croakers, are the big fish. There was a trio of 3 really large fish right there. And then there's a whole bunch of small fish way up there at the top. And I believe they are half moons. And what are they doing? They're so busy.
Correct. Those are actually half moons and opal eyes. What we do at the top during our feeds is we do a scatter feed at the top, and that brings all the smaller fish up and allows us to target feed specific species down on the lower areas.
All right, now I'm going to ask my audience a question. Which fish in this exhibit do you think is the most aggressive fish? Oh, Well, looks like the kids know. Let's find out which. The shark. Well, and those are leopard sharks. There's a big difference in size. But no, that's not it. Another guess? Okay, I'm going to ask this young man. A giant black sea bass. Oh, nope, that's not it. One more. Shall I let him do it? No, that's not it. Okay, last guess. Who's pretty sure you know? This little guy right here. What do you think? The fish way up there on top. Yes, it's the little ones. So what we're doing, we're keeping the little fish busy because they are more aggressive than the big ones. And that way we keep them way up at the top. Otherwise, they're very fast and they grab the food right away from the big guys. Is that a surprise to you? Wow, it's pretty amazing. All right. Now, tell me about these sharks. You don't seem to be very afraid of them.
No, these species of sharks are actually the only sharks that we feed by hand here at the aquarium. And if you want to see them being fed, I suggest you come back in the morning because that's when we usually feed them. We feed them roughly about in this area over here. And these are actually very gentle sharks.
All right. So, everybody, just so you know, when you go swimming in the ocean, if you're wondering if those sharks like those are in there with you, in a word, yes, they are. But they're more afraid of you than you are of them. Because these guys are harmless, and when you go in, they want to run away. Swim away, right? Yeah. Okay, so very cool. We've had a look at a lot of the fish we're feeding. And now we're going to have a look at this weird stuff that I'm holding on to. So, first of all, I'm going to tell you something. It's not real, but it looks real. So what is it? Yes, what is it? Kelp. Very good. And some people call it another name. What is that other name? Oh, let that little guy do it. Seaweed, yes. So seaweed and kelp are the same thing, and it's very, very special stuff. Yeah, we love to have this in our oceans because that means our ocean is healthy. And maybe, Brian, you can tell us how kelp makes our ocean more healthy.
Okay, yes. So kelp, it actually it creates a great ecosystem for the species like the animals that we have in here and in the next door neighbor tank over there. So at the bottom we have what's called a holdfast, and it grows around the rocks. And you get smaller species like crabs and clams and all that grow around it and kind of move around. And then up towards this area, hold on, you get the fish that swim through, kind of like how they are now. And up at the top, you get, it's kind of like a hatchery, essentially. You get all the baby fish that kind of hang around and grow a little bit older before they start moving down into the open area. And kelp actually grows about 2 feet a day, and that allows us to harvest it. And I gotta ask, how many of you kids out there like ice cream?
Well, not just kids. How about adults?
And
do you
adults,
like ice
yes.
cream? Come on. I know you do. Yeah. Well, what's the big deal about ice cream?
Would you guys believe it if I told you that we actually use kelp in ice cream?
Yep. Not only ice cream, everybody, in things like toothpaste and all the lotions and potions that you put on your body. And ladies, all of your makeup and your lipsticks. And many, many foods we love to eat, like chocolate or Jell-O. Well, so how does kelp get in those things? Oh, wow. Do you want to explain it?
Sure. So
Okay.
after we harvest it, we actually take it to like a facility to process it. And after we process it, we get this chemical called alginine out of it. And that's what we actually put in ice cream and toothpaste and chocolate and all the good stuff that we use every day.
Right, and it's not for the taste. What it does, it makes it thick and creamy. So think of all the things you use and eat that are thick and creamy. Chances are there's some kelp in it. Just look on the ingredients. If you see ALG or something like that beginning with ALG, algin, that's the kelp. So wow, that's really cool news. Thank you. Well, everybody, there's something else special that I want to tell you. Brian and his team of divers today is a volunteer. We have about 180. I think that's about right.
It's about there. It's between 180 and 200.
Volunteer divers. And so people always want to know, why do you want to come here and dive for us?
That's actually a very good way to either begin or end your week. It's very relaxing, and you get to deal with a lot of really cool species. And what we do as volunteer divers is we look at the animal and make sure that there's no injuries, they're acting normal, there's no disease, and we just basically look at the overall health of the animal and report it to the veterinary staff.
Right, and so I'll add to that a little bit. I think you can see that Brian has a real passion for the ocean and the creatures that live in it. And it's something all of our divers like to pass on to you. So we hope you learned a few cool things about the ocean and the creatures in it. Now it's time to meet the diver. So I know a lot of people here wondering, can I ever go up to the window and see the diver? Yes, you can. Now is the time. So if you come up, Brian will come down, and we give him a high five. That's what we do. Yes, that means hi. And also, if you would like to tell Brian something special, like you're having fun today, or what's your name, is this a special day for you? All right, and this is Lorena. She's a regular visitor, and she wants to start us out today.
Okay, so my name's Lorena, and I'm a member here, actually.
Thank you.
And I just want to ask, how are you doing, first of all?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Well, I just wanted to say real quick, thank you so much for everything you do, because everything you do is amazing, and I really appreciate it. So thank you for all your hard work and dedication to this place.
No problem. It's our pleasure.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, do I have anybody? Somebody else who would like to say hi to Brian? Want to do it personally? Oh, yeah, that giant sea bass came to say hi, Brian. So, yes, come on over, take pictures. Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, you want to get all your people together. We have a school group, Brian, and we're going to get their picture with you, okay?
Okay.
All right, let's bring the... Okay, we'll let this lady get her picture here, and then we'll get the school group together. Very good. Go above him, Brian. I think that's the way to do it. Here. Yes, good. Right. So do your high fives. So we've got, for all the girls, we have a girl diver over here. This is Jessica. So make sure you come say hi to Jessica. Yeah. Well, we don't want to forget anybody. So how about you guys give them a high five here? Say hi to everybody. Very good clap. If you enjoyed watching our divers and seeing the interaction, maybe you'd like to see them at 2:30 when they go upstairs to our tropical Pacific. They feed the tropical fish at 2:30, so you can see our divers then. All right, everybody. So our divers are going to have to go get changed for their next dive at 2:30. They actually have to rinse their whole dive suit, make sure we don't transfer any bacteria from one aquarium to the next. So we're going to be saying goodbye to them in just a moment. So get your pictures. You can see them again at 2:30 upstairs in our tropical Pacific exhibit. They'll be feeding the fish at that time. So, Brian, I'm going to say goodbye to you now.
All right, bye.
Okay, so bye. All right, then. If you look inside your guidebook, there should be a blue paper. It's loose leaf, so they do fall out easily, but hunt for it, see if you've got it. It has all of the show times. And the very next show is at 2 o'clock. That's just 10 minutes from now. That's when we feed the big sharks. Now, the big sharks are outdoors in our shark lagoon. So you can get there by either going to the right or to the left. Walk all the way back until you get outdoors. That will be Shark Lagoon. And the big sharks are out there, and they're going to feed them. Well, actually, they're up at the front entrance, and somehow you missed getting one.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So once again, see if you can find that blue paper. There are guidebooks up at the front entrance. There is a podium sitting right in the middle of the hallway that has the booklets in it. Okay, if you have that, there's a blue paper inside, and that blue paper lists our shows for the day. I've got one of those papers in my hand. You're welcome to have it if somebody need it. The very next show, as I said, is at 2 o'clock outdoors, Shark Lagoon. They're feeding the big sharks. And then we have a couple of animal shows coming up. There's one at 2:15 when we feed and train the sea otters. That will be upstairs in our Northern Pacific Gallery. And then at 3:15 outdoors, we have our seals and sea lion show. So these are shows that are really fun to watch. And I recommend that you get there. And if you don't know how to get there, just ask one of us. We'll be happy to tell you.